covering the stories that impact your life, your town, your state, and your future. This is the Means Report with your host, Brad Means.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Means Report. We certainly appreciate you spending part of your day with us, where I am excited to report that today our entire focus is going to be on law enforcement, local law enforcement, and the hard work that the men and women who are responsible for protecting and serving do that each day. A close look, for instance, at the SWAT team. That'll be in our first segment. The SWAT team has been on the news, in my opinion, a lot lately. It seems like every week or so they're responding to something. So we'll sort of pull back the curtain and find out what it takes for the SWAT team to respond and what it takes to be a member of that prestigious group. Also ahead, an important story for all of us: catching child predators and sex offenders and sex traffickers. They're out there in our community. How can we spot them? How can we help law enforcement get them off the streets? You'll get some good information there. And of course, we'll wrap up the Means Report, as we always do, with ways that you can stay in touch with us. Tell us what you think about this broadcast and help us get more great guests like our first one. He is James Kelly, a lieutenant with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, the commander of the Richmond County SWAT team. Lieutenant, thank you so much for being with me and for what you do for us.
I appreciate you having me.
Let me just ask some basic questions, not only to help me kind of learn about you, but hopefully help the viewers find out more about SWAT. You know, we see SWAT teams on TV, certainly, and I'm sure that y'all are probably a little different than what we see during an hour-long show. What's it take to become a member of a SWAT team? Do you have to be a deputy sheriff, for instance, first, and then you get special training to move to SWAT? How's it work?
Yes, sir. So starting out, you have to be a deputy sheriff with our department. It's a minimum of at least 3 years of actual road patrol experience before they can come on board. And then it's an intense tryout to actually get on for the slots that we have.
I know we could probably spend the whole show on this, but what kind of training would you get? So you're already on road patrol, you know how to protect and serve, you know how to be a law enforcement officer. Then what do they do? What do they teach you?
It's a little bit elevated from that, so you go into more marksmanship, more extreme shooting, advanced shooting, a lot of close quarters combat, CQB, dealing with houses and structures and clearing and just dealing with threats, i.e. hostage situations, barricaded subjects, and so on.
Okay, so you go back to the TV example. Are y'all walking through rooms, houses, if you will, where you're training, and the bad guy pops up, or the good guy pops up, and you have to make a decision?
In some aspects, it's like that. Like TV, of course, that's Hollywood, so they play it out pretty good. But a lot of it is getting the individual to come out to us, so we don't have to enter where it's unsafe, and then try to alleviate the problem from there.
Go back to the marksman part. Do you have to be great at shooting? And if you're not, are you not going to make SWAT?
So my guys have to shoot at least 90% or better on a state qualification test, which is, it's pretty easy. I wouldn't say easy.
When you say 90%, you mean bullseye?
It's pretty close.
Yeah?
It's pretty close, yes.
And then, but if you're not good, if you don't hit that 90%, can you find another role for me? Can I work behind the scenes to support y'all?
We do have support staff.
Sure.
So anytime a SWAT team rolls out, especially with Richmond County, our EOD guys, our bomb techs roll with us just because they have robot capabilities and everything for us. We have command center individuals that come out and man our command centers and communications and dispatchers and so on about that.
What about that truck that y'all are in? What's inside that thing?
Which one?
Well, the big square one, the one that
armored.
Right, that does look like the TV SWAT trucks.
I got you. So that's called the Bearcat. That rolls with us. It's up armored. It helps protects the team moving to an incident. Also, we can bring in supplies.
There's communications in there?
There's communications. There's all kinds of cool little gadgets.
Yeah, no, I bet. I'd love to take a tour of it someday. So when does it reach the point when y'all have to respond? Is it written out, some sort of criteria that you follow when you say, okay, this is more than just a typical response. We need to go now?
So the individuals that are working the streets, lieutenants, sergeants, road patrol, they can actually call and activate us through our dispatch 911. Usually while we're being dispatched, somebody will call me directly or one of my team leaders, and then we will evaluate what we need to bring to the actual incident location from there. But usually we tend to roll out, and it's better to have us there and not need us, and then need us and not have us.
No,
So,
you're right. You're right. All right, Lieutenant Kelly, I mentioned that we've had a lot of stories recently, several, where SWAT has responded.
Yes, sir.
And it seems like they are mostly domestic. Is that accurate, where you're having a man and a wife or a boyfriend and a girlfriend at odds and y'all have to intervene?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably say about 50% of the time it's domestic, and then you got other individuals. Some are being evicted, some are just down on their luck, and of course with the mental health problem in the U.S. nowadays, and we have to deal with that also.
Yeah, the sheriff mentioned that yesterday. We're recording this on a Thursday, but yesterday, Wednesday, y'all did training with non-lethal, or
Yes.
the sheriff's office did non-lethal training to respond to try to diffuse situations without anybody getting seriously hurt. And he mentioned mental illness. How prevalent is that when you pull up on a scene, and is it often that they're mentally ill?
I wouldn't say often, but we do roll up on scenes where that is an issue. We have people that are actually trained in speaking with mental health, and then in trying to de-escalate the issues from there. And just like the sheriff said yesterday, that's why we're trying to bring in new innovative gadgets to help us de-escalate the situation rather than have to use lethal force.
So what's your approach? And I hate to say typical or routine, with law enforcement, because there's nothing that's typical or routine with what y'all do.
Yes,
Everything is different. But is your goal to negotiate first when you pull up to a scene and try to have a peaceful resolution, or does sometimes you just have to go into that danger?
Yes, sir. The whole thing is to try to get them to come out without any injuries to them or law enforcement itself. But some incidences, like an active shooter, say at a school or a mall, sometimes we have to go in and actually handle business from there. So,
do you think that somebody has to be born fearless, or can y'all train them to lean into the scary situations like you just mentioned?
I wouldn't say fearless, because if you have no fear, then we've got issues there too. So it's just a desire to be on this team. This is all voluntary, so they're not getting anything out of it except everybody has their different duties besides being on a SWAT team. Some of the bigger cities, you have full-time teams. Us, everybody has all their little different duties that they're doing separate from what we're.
What are y'all doing when we're not seeing you out there responding? Are you in a room waiting for deputies to go, "We need you"? What's it like when you're not on call, when you don't get the call?
That would be a cool thing to do, though.
Sure.
But no, a lot of us are, so you've got investigators, you got road patrol deputies, gang investigators, narcotics investigators, and we all comprise and then make up the team from there.
Let me ask you about negotiations.
Yes,
Are you trying to give the suspect something that he or she wants, and how much leeway do you have with that? For instance, if they say, "I demand this," is the thinking, if I meet that demand, if I give them that, they'll give up and I'll have an advantage?
So I don't like to go into too many tactics that we use, but the whole goal is to get that individual to come out without having us have to go inside and get them, and we're just trying to save lives.
Is there a time of year when you're busier than others? Does the heat make people commit more crimes?
I think the heat brings everything out of everybody.
Seriously?
But no, not really. It's just you really can't put your finger on it when we're going to get called.
What can we do? Because I know some people want to watch you work, want to be kind of rubberneckers, if you will. What can the community do when we see SWAT or law enforcement in general in action to help y'all?
We usually have a pretty good perimeter set up, so we keep everybody back, and I'm sure some of your reporters would say that also.
Yeah.
But that is the biggest thing, just kind of stay out of the way for right now, and then people will end up coming up and talking to them, and they'll get the gist. But yeah.
What about a situation, and I know, again, this is something that we could probably spend a whole segment on, but any response or situation in your mind that stands out in your career where you thought, wow, I'm glad I chose this job?
We've had a lot of close calls and a lot of incidents. There's so many. Just saving lives. No, not off the top of my head. There's so many.
You know, when I was a young boy, people wanted to grow up and be police officers and firefighters, certainly.
Yes, sir.
Do you still see that? What's the future look like for your profession? Do you feel good about it?
I see it coming back.
Yeah.
Profession's looking bright, and you can see with Richmond County, especially with Sheriff Brantley, on how many individuals he brought back with him. So I think the profession's going to keep moving. I mean, there's never a shortage on crime, so
Sure.
there's always going to be a job for us.
What about Augusta? How do we rate? Probably my last question for you. You know, a lot of times people say, well, that's a big city problem. You know, sometimes, Lieutenant, it seems like we have big city problems that y'all have to tackle on the streets each day. Is that true, or are we kind of a quieter town?
We do get our fair share of big city problems.
Sure.
And that's anywhere, even your small towns like Grovetown and Waynesboro and those areas. They get the same issues we get, just on a smaller basis, but it's just rampant through the U.S., so there's never a shortage on crime. So
I'm glad you mentioned those other counties. And this really is my last question. Do y'all have a good relationship with other law enforcement agencies? And do
Yes.
they come and help y'all with things?
Yes, so just like that officer-involved shooting a couple weeks ago in Columbia County. We responded, Burke County responded, and of course Columbia County had their team out. Everybody works well together, so, and we're trying to build that bridge and mold everybody in together. So I see good things in the future.
Well, we appreciate all you do, and we are recording this on Peace Officers Memorial Day, where the nation remembers those we've lost, and
Yes, sir.
just gives me a chance to say thank you for being so brave and for keeping us safe.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Lieutenant James Kelly with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office runs the SWAT team. If you see them out and about, do what he said. Just kind of give them their space and let them keep us safe. When we come back, we're going to take a close look at sex trafficking and how it's endangering children in our area. We're a hot spot for that. You may not know that, but we'll give you some info on how to spot it and how to help law enforcement stop it on the Means Report.